Hey everybody, we are in Newport, Rhode Island, and we're going to do a food tour and give you a little bit of information about Newport.
We're also going to do a narrated cruise of the harbor for a little while with alcohol. So.
Awesome. Join us. I wanted to provide you a route map to show you where we were walking when we did the food tour. The blue is where we started, and then the red is the way that we got to all the different restaurants. Along the way, we stopped at a lot of historic monuments. You're just going to see the tour guide explaining the historic monuments. It was a long walking tour, and then you stop in restaurants to eat. This first one was kind of fast foody. It actually is like a little mini convenience store with I want to say Puerto Rican. It's a Hispanic restaurant in the back where you can essentially order fast food. It's fast food. You pay before you get your food, so that's technically fast food. It obviously doesn't look like McDonald's. It was actually pretty good, pretty authentic burritos. And you're gonna see, or maybe soft tacos is probably the better word. And as you can see, there's all kinds of different food restaurants here. The company picked the restaurants, and I think they said that there was like maybe 6 restaurants that were like the best of Rhode Island, or maybe the best in Newport. And we went to like half of them, and the other half of them either they weren't open or something. Like basically we couldn't do them. So this next restaurant is Stone Acre Brasserie, and it was the first one with alcohol, and it was this little kind of hodgepodge dish of different things. It was very excellent. They said that the Stone Acre had 2 restaurants. The Brasserie was an upper adult one, and then the other Stone Acre was actually the kids one. We next went to this ice cream shop called Get the Scoop, and it was a very light, small ice cream that we had. As I was saying, that we did see a lot of historic monuments, and we did stop many times on this tour, which I highly recommend to do the food tour in Newport. These people you keep seeing, they're actually on our tour with us. We were just like chit-chatting and stuff. We did stop off at this museum, and apparently there are different people that work at this museum, but it's all like volunteers. And the tour guide was telling us it depended on who was here actually to whether or not we were going to do the tour, because one of the tour guides like talks a lot, and the other one is pretty brief, and we didn't have a lot of time in here. But we did do probably like 5 or 10 minutes in this really neat Newport historic museum. These cannons do work, by the way. They shoot them off, I think, on 4th of July and some other holidays. But there was quite a few really neat things in that museum. Obviously, this is a walking food tour, and this was the first one that we had done. I want to say maybe we walked 3 or 4 miles. It wasn't like terribly, like uncomfortably long. We did stop numerous times, obviously, to eat, so it wasn't like it felt like a marathon or anything like that. I think anybody could have gone on it. I believe this is the Vanderbilt Hotel, very well known in the Newport area. So we saw the highlights that were along the route. And the route that I showed initially at the beginning is really the touristy part of Newport. If you come down to Newport, that's probably the area that you're going to spend most of your time in. And it just really depends on if you want to go around and do this on your own, or if you want to go with them. The other big benefit, like I was saying, going with them is it's all portioned down. So it's not like you're eating 5 meals or 6 meals. Instead, you're getting just a little tiny like taste of what you're doing, rather than the whole entire like too much food. This is a really touristy area that we got down to. The other area was not so touristy. So this is a chowder company that we're going to, and I thought it was going to be a New England clam chowder, but it was actually a seafood bisque, I think, like is what they said. It was really good, and apparently they had won a lot of awards for it. And this seafood chowder or seafood bisque had a little bit of everything in it that was like seafood, so it tasted a little bit like lobster, to tell you the truth, but it did have clams in it, from clam chowder and crab meat and other things. I don't even actually know what I was eating, but it was good, and it was thick and hearty. I would have it again. And that was the Newport Chowder Company. And then we made it along the port, and there's this interesting area that was full of umbrellas that were over the sky. The stores on the right are the touristy little like t-shirt shops and stuff. When we actually parked in this parking lot, you can almost see the truck, that white vehicle. We parked up in that parking lot, and I think normally it's like $20 a day to park in the parking lot. However, there was a jazz festival going on. Apparently there's quite a few festivals going on. It was $40 for us, and there was live music everywhere. That's why there's no background audio, because I don't want to get any red marks from YouTube for copyright violations for having music in the background. They do that, unfortunately. So this area was the last area that we went through on the tour, and this used to be the big touristy area, and then I guess the other areas got built up, and then this area became not so touristy. It still had a lot of shops in it and stuff. There was like a running shoe shop and a Gap that you just saw. This right here is Yagi Noodles. It was actually a really good ramen place. The dish that they served us was actually a little bit interesting, and the lady spent a long time explaining it to us. But basically it's just some noodles with some garnishes without any liquid, and it was the first time I'd ever had a ramen dish without any liquid. And they are giving us more drinks, of course, sake, because this is a alcohol and food tour. But you can opt out of the alcohol, and you can also tell them that you have a food allergy, and then they'll work around your food allergy. It was kind of like a peanut butter noodle is what we had. I mean, it was a regular ramen noodle, but it had this like kind of peanut buttery sauce on it, and there's a noodle by itself wrapped in a little cylinder looking shape without any liquid. Afterwards we came back and we actually had a meal here before we left. That's the tonka ramen that I normally get, and that's the dish that you just saw with the liquid in it, the full-size dish that I was trying to describe. It's like kind of peanut buttery tasting. They make all their own fresh noodles and stuff, which is really cool. This is inside of the restaurant. It just happened to be near where we parked at, and it was one of the other. We liked all the restaurants. It wasn't that there was one that we wouldn't want to go back to. Kimberly's not really super into chowder, so probably that one was out. But these two were really close to where we parked, so they were the one, and we wanted to get something to eat and then leave, so that was why we went to that one specifically. This one's right across the walkway from the other one. However, we didn't want to have pizza. But the pizza was good. I'm not saying like it was. I wouldn't come back for pizza. I just, at that time, we didn't want to eat pizza, and then drive an hour back to where we were camping. This one had alcohol also, as you can see. This is Mother Pizzeria, and they specialize in a sourdough pizza. So all the breading and stuff is sourdough, and she talked a lot about the sourdough bread. That was like the big thing about the pizza. But it was an excellent pizza. That's a margarita pizza, by the way, if you're wondering what kind. Then we made our way down to the boat tour. The boat tour that we did was like a tourist cruise, I kind of want to describe it as. They have drinks on the boat that you can order, like mudslides and margaritas and things like that, and bourbon. They do provide complimentary lemonade slushies, and probably water. I didn't really ask for water, but almost everybody was having lemonade slushies or alcohol. This is a boat that you're on. To me, it seemed really important to be early in line and to get here early, so then you could be selective of your seat. There were some people that showed up late, and they seemed a little bit upset that all the good seats were taken. So just like anything else, you know, if there's seats involved and you want to sit in the shade or you want to sit in the sun and you're not the first one on the boat, then you may not actually get all the choices. I wanted to sit right next to the edge. Obviously nobody is seeming to want to sit in this center section because everybody's going somewhere other than the center section. That's where those people were sitting. I want to say we were out on the water for an hour or two. It wasn't like all day, but it also wasn't really, really short. And there was a guy with a microphone basically the entire time that was rattling off everything that you might want to know about the boats that we were passing by, and I'll point out a couple of boats, more important boats, and also about the architecture and the buildings and stuff around us. Sorry, I just realized that I was holding the camera for so long. And that's apparently a really important restaurant or building. I can't remember. Oh, behind it is a jazz festival. That's why I took that picture, I think. Yeah. And there's a bridge that you can see kind of behind it, not the water, but behind it there was an arch bridge. There it is, the arch bridge. It's kind of like through the tree line that goes up to that house. Apparently they spent an enormous amount of money for this very, very expensive arched driveway. And what's unique about this one is it's on the National History Registry twice, once for the bridge, which is a driveway, and once for the house. So I found that interesting that their driveway was actually listed on the historic registry of things, I guess. I want to say things. I was going to say houses, but obviously if it's the driveway, it's on a house. They explained to us the difference between all these mooring balls and the prices of the mooring balls and the prices of docking, just so people would have an idea. And it's really, really expensive. This was one of the nicer sailing ships that we saw when we were out there, and we actually got pretty close to it, as you can see, because I'm using a little action camera that does not have a zoom on it. So the view is actually really quite nice of this boat. The next two boats are actually the race boats for the America's Cup. Not that one, that's an American Cup. But the next two sailboats that you see that are enormous ones, that one, that's an America's Cup race boat, US number 22 in the America's Cup. And then right behind it, not that one, but the next large one that we see, that one there is another America's Cup boat, US 23. So America's Cup boat number 22 and America's Cup number 23. I don't know a whole lot about sailing and sailing races. Maybe if somebody does, they can leave a comment or something, explain like sailing races if anybody even got this far into the video. But yeah, so it was a long boat ride and explaining of it, but it was cool. It was really cool. So anyway, so this was basically our day in Newport that we spent to see Newport, Rhode Island. We also went to Providence, but I don't know if I'm going to post a Providence video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it.